Welcome to Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barito. Let's take a look at the headlines. Nigerian nationals to benefit when the National Energy Skills Center opens. Government considering an initiative for the allocation of 10 million to each MP for the operation of their offices and works to be conducted within their constituencies. And a pilot project that will see the continuous assessment component, the CAC, implemented at primary school level. Thank you for joining us. Minister of Finance and the Economy, Senator the Honorable Larry Hawai, held talks with the Trinidad Hotels, Restaurants and Tourism Association. This all part of the recently held pre-budget consultations.
Finance Minister Larry Hawai believes tourism can play a key role in ensuring the sustainable development of this country. This was expressed in his latest round of budget consultations, this time with tourism stakeholders. Speaking with members of the Trinidad Hotels, Restaurants and Tourism Association, Minister Hawai says the government plans to invest significantly in this sector.
Tourism is also a key part of our thrust. I think we need to make a significant investment in this part of the business, and I would like to engage with all the stakeholders with a view to determining what's the best way to do it. I don't think we'll build all the hotels and change all the attitudes and develop all the staff and get them all done in this year's budget. But I think if we work out a proper plan and we stick to it, in a few years' time, we start to see the big difference it could make for us.
Also present at the talks was Tourism Minister, the Honorable Stephen K. Dees, who notes the importance of the tourism sector as a cash cow for the country. He says government must invest in it as it can yield significant returns for the economy.
Tourism touches every single aspect of society, touches every single aspect of the economy. It is the most sustainable industry that you can possibly want to be in. It adds value to the rest of the economy, be it in food production, manufacturing, services sector, food and beverage, hospitality, you name it. Tourism plays a major part in it. So I think my mission really and truly is to create a very sustainable tourism industry, and in doing that, to add value to the economy by ensuring that as much of that tourist dollar remains right here in Trinidad and Tobago. If it is one word that you can use in this industry, is revenue, because you get revenue from every part of that dollar that is being spent. The government benefits from it.
Minister Hawai says the government plans to take the input of stakeholders very seriously and as such promises to hold post-budget consultations as well.
I wanted to introduce a post-budget consultation too. And the reason for that is that many things that we try to do in the budget can't be done in 12 months. You get a whole lot of stuff that everybody wants to have everything done right away, but of course practically, it can't be done. And we need therefore to enter into a meaningful dialogue with all the constituent elements of the economy to let people know what we're doing, what we can do this year, how we will prioritize it, and what things we might be able to do in the future, so that you yourself don't have a sense of frustration and you know how to plan your business.
Gregory McBurney, News 4.
Great news for Nigerian nationals who will now benefit when the National Energy Skills Center opens its Drilling Institute in August at its campus in St. Madeleine. The announcement was made by Tertiary Education Minister Senator Fazal Karim during the graduation ceremony of some 57 Nigerian nationals who were trained at the NESC's campus in Point Lisas. Minister Karim says the campus was part of the Energy Institute launched by his ministry in May 2012.
The upstream oil and gas sector will be greatly facilitated. This, as Tertiary Education Minister Senator Fazal Karim is revealing that Nigerian nationals will be able to access training at the NESC's Skills and Technology Center in Point Lisas. The various skills include automotive services maintenance, heavy equipment operations and maintenance, shielded metal arc welding, and facilities maintenance. He says under an agreement with NESC, some 17 Nigerian nationals will benefit from the training which will be offered.
The signing of the training agreement between KEST Services Limited and the NESC in December 2010 has placed NESC on the map. It also makes the NESC part of the history of Nigeria in a period of its transformation. The training which these graduates have successfully completed was part of an amnesty program in the formerly restive Niger Delta region. I'm also advised and I'm very pleased to observe that Trinidad and Tobago is the first country in the Caribbean to provide training under this amnesty program.
Minister Karim says the NESC would also be used as a model for training institutions in other African nations. The cost of the training and related services amounted to $6 million and was paid for by the government of Nigeria.
Even as we bid farewell and best wishes to these graduates here this evening, plans you have heard already in place to receive another group to do sheet arc metal welding and also to join our drilling school in Trinidad and Tobago. The drilling school is part of the Energy Institute, launched by our ministry in May 2012, under an agreement between the NESC, Petroskills of Oklahoma, USA, and another private entity from Nigeria, Vital Allied Services. These 70 Nigerian nationals will benefit from the training which will be offered to support the upstream oil and gas sector. In addition, the NESC is to be used as a prototype for training institutions in other African nations, namely Ghana, Angola, and Tanzania.
Nigerian High Commissioner His Excellency Musa Jen said he was pleased with the training at the NESC. He said he looked forward to increasing ties with Trinidad and Tobago and Nigeria. Jen said officials from the Nigerian government would be in Trinidad and Tobago on August 1st for a 2-day visit. Vuna Bharath, News 4.
News 4 continues after the break. Stay with us.
Now, if you are in a flood-prone area, move your valuable items above expected floodwaters.
Construct flood barriers to prevent water from entering your home or building.
The next big problem that causes flooding is the dumping of garbage and appliances by the river. How much times we'll say to put the old stove and fridge by the river bank? Listen, it's going to create even more flooding.
Here are some other precautions you can take.
Turn off gas and electricity. Unplug all electrical appliances.
Put dangerous liquids like strong chemicals and flammable liquids in a safe place and close those containers tightly.
Place important documents, passport, deed, birth certificate, in waterproof containers or sealed plastic bags.
Common sense now. Park your vehicle in an area that will not flood.
Secure pets on higher ground.
Have an emergency plan for your family or business so you'll know what to do beforehand, where you will go, and how you will deal with the flooding situation.
That was some real good tips, Dee. But at the end of the day, flooding takes place. And if indeed you become a victim of flooding, here is the hookup. You need to contact your regional corporation or the ODPM at 800 ODPM.
Great, Jason. Remember, damages caused by flooding can be minimized. So let's plan and prepare.
In order to safeguard our family, our community, and our country.
A message from the Ministry of National Security, Office of Disaster Preparedness and Management.
Welcome back. Government is said to be considering an initiative that will see the allocation of $10 million to each MP for the operation of their offices and works to be conducted within their constituencies. Local Government Minister Dr. The Honorable Suraj Ratan Rambachan said the plans were currently in discussion among cabinet members.
Government is said to be in discussions on the feasibility of an initiative that will see each of the 41 elected members of Parliament provided with funds to spend on their constituencies. Local Government Minister Suraj Ratan Rambachan says incorporating this into the system was part of the policies to be introduced in the reform of local government.
This government is on a program of reforming local government. Already in the process of reform, we have ensured that councillors have paid offices. Now throughout the country, there are 134 offices that are supported financially by the government of Trinidad and Tobago, where they get also secretarial staff and telephones and what have you, so that they can be more in contact with their constituents.
He adds that dispersing this amount of money to the various MPs for the operation of their constituencies and offices was not an uncommon practice within the Commonwealth.
In Jamaica, 2.5% of the national budget is spent on this matter, and there are other countries in the world, including India and Kenya and others, where such funds do exist, so that there are other parts of the world and in the Commonwealth where you have such activities.
Meanwhile, Minister Rambachan notes that plans to decentralize government ministries were all part of its outline in the development of rural areas in an effort to bring government services closer to the people.
We have talked for a long time about decentralization in Trinidad and Tobago. We have also talked about building other towns and townships in Trinidad and Tobago. We have talked about rural redevelopment, which is something that even he said there must be a ministry for rural development. What we are doing is trying to take the pressure also off the center and put in the kinds of ministries and facilities that will facilitate people in the localities where those services are more required. You are enhancing the entire country through the process of decentralization, and by doing so, you're opening opportunities in the geographic space across the country.
Kimberly Ramkalawan, News 4.
A pilot project that will see the continuous assessment component, the CAC, implemented in primary schools across the nation will commence in the upcoming school term in September. Education Minister, the Honorable Dr. Tim Gopi Singh, says the CAC will account for 20% of the secondary assessment examination, SEA score.
Plans to introduce a continuous assessment component, CAC, into the primary school system as a pilot project this September have been unveiled. In revealing the plans, Education Minister Dr. Tim Gopi Singh says the CAC will take up 20% of the secondary assessment examination, SEA. The plans, which have been given approval by Cabinet, were disclosed during this week's post-Cabinet media briefing.
The CAC commenced in September 2012 as a pilot project with focus on Standard 4 and Standard 5 students to obtain a continuous assessment mark of 20% that will contribute towards their final SEA mark in 2013. It's a pilot project that will start this academic year.
The minister assures that all systems are in place for the implementation.
Standard 4 students to obtain a continuous assessment mark of 20%. That is by 2013, but as a pilot project to ensure that all systems are in place for implementation of the real testing when they go to Standard 5 the following year, when they are writing the SEA examinations in 2014, that the 20% of the marks will be then given for the continuous assessment component in 2014, based on what Cabinet has agreed. And in 2015, a further 20% of the mark would contribute to the total 40% for the SEA.
A total of $48 million will be spent in the resourcing of materials and training of teachers during the course of the pilot project.
Expenditure of approximately $48 million for the initial resourcing of schools and various material and line items, and $4 million per annum for material and supplies for the training of teachers and continuous training, and other sums for wider stakeholder engagement over the next year while the pilot project.
Kimberly Ramkalawan, News 4.
Sport is up right after the break. Stay with us.
Informing and educating the nation, especially the young ones, about water. how it's won and processed, and how it should be protected are just a few of our major responsibilities here at the Public Education Center. The enjoyable learning environment, cultivating conservation habits, developing healthy relationships, and giving our public an appreciation of the environment in which we produce water. WASA's PEC, the region's only public education center on water.
Thank you for staying with us. Trinidad and Tobago's under-17 footballers crossed the first hurdle on their journey to the 2013 FIFA Under-17 World Cup. The Young Warriors advanced to the next round after a workmanlike win over Guyana to top Group 4, which also included Suriname and the British Virgin Islands. Gregory McBurney has the highlights from the Hasely Crawford Stadium.
On the final evening of competition in the Caribbean Football Union Under-17 qualifying tournament, it was another horrid outing for the BVI when they faced Suriname in Game 1 at the Hasely Crawford Stadium. They went behind as early as the second minute, Nazario Dosberg opening the scoring. Goal number 2 came 9 minutes later, courtesy this Abednego Everett lob. As has become the custom with the BVI, the floodgates opened. Mourinho Assoman with one of his 4 goals on the evening. Geoffrey Gainsa also registered a beaver trick, and by the end of the first half, it was 9-0 in favour of Suriname. The other scorers with multi-goals were Selassie Zandveld with 3 and team captain Sorencio Julians with 2, as Suriname went on to win by 18 goals to 0. They knew that would not be enough to advance, even if Guyana pulled off an upset and defeated Trinidad and Tobago in Game 2. The Young Warriors were dominating possession early, but did not really threaten the Guyanese goal. The deadlock was broken by Josiah Trimmingham, the big defender rising above all to meet the Matthew Wooling cross and beat the keeper. Jason Cromwell had to be alert in the Guyana goal to keep the score at 1 as Akeem Garcia tries to curl the ball in. But 1-0 is how it would stay going into the half-time break. The home team would have to wait until the 71st minute for the second item. Once again, Wooling was the provider as captain Brendan Creed bundles the ball in. Not the prettiest of goals, but it counts to make it 2-0 TNT. And that would be the final score as Trinidad and Tobago tops Group 4 and advances to the next round without conceding a goal. Gregory McBurney, News 4 Sports.
News 4 continues after the break. Stay with us.
The iPhone 4S has an all-new camera with 8 megapixels and advanced optics, so it lets you capture stunning photos. And because it's an iPhone, you can do things you never imagined possible with a camera. So maybe the only camera you need is the one on the most amazing iPhone yet.
As celebrations get on the way across Trinidad and Tobago ahead of the 50th independence anniversary, MP for Princestown Neela Khan is calling for her constituents to remember the foundation laid by the first Prime Minister, Dr. Eric Williams, in the lead up to August 31st, 1962. It's this, she says, as citizens we need to keep in mind as we move forward as a nation.
Recognizing the unique diversity that makes our country, Trinidad and Tobago. This was the message MP for Princestown Neela Khan shared with her constituents as they gathered for celebrations to mark this year's 50th independence anniversary. In remembering the foundation laid by first Prime Minister Dr. Eric Williams, Ms. Khan said Trinidad and Tobago could not have attained independence without his guidance.
Members of the then government were Dr. Eric Williams, the Honorable Kapildeo, who all went to Marlborough's house and came back and created this independent nation. We will forever be grateful to them for their vision and their foresight to have taken us to this independence. Today, August 31st, which is coming very soon, a month from now, we will be celebrating that declaration that was signed on that particular day, fall, when we were given independence here in Trinidad and Tobago.
She added that as Trinbagonians, we stood to be proud of many achievements as a nation.
Over the last 50 years, we have grown as a nation and as a people. This growth has manifested itself in our education system, as we have free education from an early childhood education centers to a university. Our energy industries have helped us to build our economic infrastructure, which is the envy of many, and we can be proud that it is largely managed by the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
The powerful words Dr. Eric Williams spoke to the nation upon becoming independent lives on to this day, some 50 years after the Union Jack was lowered and the red, white and black hoisted. MP Khan says as part of carrying on this legacy, the speech will be passed on to all students within her constituency.
The first speech that was delivered by the then Dr. Eric Williams, the Honorable late Dr. Eric Williams, on August 31st, 1962, will be left with the councillor for the area, to which I am going to mandate her to have it distributed to all her schools, not just in this electoral district, but of course to the chairman of the corporation, where it can be handed to every school, and every child is going to get a copy of that first speech that was delivered by the late Honorable Dr. Eric Williams, who brought this nation to an independent nation today.
Kimberly Ramkalawan, News 4.
Minister in the Ministry of the Environment and Water Resources, Ramona Ramdial, says the ministry is aiming towards service excellence. The minister met recently with the employees of the ministry's various divisions.
Minister of the Environment and Water Resources, Senator the Honorable Ganga Singh, and Minister of State in that ministry, the Honorable Ramona Ramdial, recently met with the employees of the ministry's various divisions. The ministers were present at an employee forum during which representatives of the Forestry Division, Environmental Policy and Planning Division, the Environmental Management Authority, Meteorological Services, Drainage Division, and Water and Sewage Authority all presented what their division is about and their current initiatives. Addressing the employees, Minister Ramdial says attaining service excellence is the most important goal any of the divisions can have.
We should adhere to core service principles and commitment to provide high-quality service. And of course, our customers will include anyone to whom we provide a service, who works with us in delivering a service, or who has an interest in what we do. And in having these fundamental principles instilled in us through our leaders, we can really attain that service excellence that we try so hard for.
Minister Ramdial pointed out some service principles which are needed if the employees are to provide good service.
You should be very accessible, easy to access, accessible to persons with disabilities, integrated and coordinated, and meet the requirements of your government. You should be responsive, a timely response to questions, requests and concerns, service improvements based on feedback, duplication avoided, and administrative burden minimized. You should also be reliable with a clear, accurate, and relevant, dependable information going out to your clients. You should also be caring, equitable, fair, and courteous service by knowledgeable staff, customers treated with dignity at all times. And lastly, you should be accountable with respect to the information you disseminate and the services you give to the public on a daily basis.
Minister Ramdial said these core values are needed if the ministry is to move forward. She also singled out the Forestry Division, stating it is one of the most productive divisions of the Ministry of the Environment and Water Resources. Minister Ramdial said these core values are needed if the ministry is to move forward. She also singled out the Forestry Division, stating it is one of the most productive divisions of the Ministry of the Environment and Water Resources. Gregory McBurney, News 4.
Well, that's how we wrap up this edition of our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barito. Thank you for joining us.